Hey YouTube, today we're going to be talking about Sig Sauer and the fact that if they are done after this whole debacle that's been going on here for several years now. But before we get started, I'm going to show you the example firearms I have here in front of us are not loaded, and especially this one. We don't have anything in it, folks, nothing. And we are clear to make this video. So what we have here is on the top here, we have a Sig Sauer P320 chambered in 45 ACP, and then on the bottom one, we have a Sig Sauer P320 chambered in 9mm. Now, there's been a lot of stuff happening here with Sig Sauer lately, folks, with this P320, and I was one of those people that really liked this gun when it came out, and the way it felt, the ergonomics of it, the trigger, and all that stuff. And I thought it was an absolutely genius and great design, and I was really on the bandwagon. Keep in mind, Sig Sauer doesn't pay me to do anything, or I don't show any favoritism sort of stuff. I just show people what I like, and this gun, I really liked it for a long time. Now, in light of some of the recent stuff that's come about, there for a while, there was rumors when they first came out, if you dropped them like at this angle, they were not drop safe, and Sig Sauer issued a voluntary recall where you could send it in and get the new style trigger, and it made them drop safe. But there's been a lot of smoke around these things about accidental discharges, and I blew this off for a very, very, very long time, probably longer than most, because I feel that probably about 98% of the accidental discharges that happen with firearms are usually user error. Somebody gets something caught in the trigger or have their finger on the trigger when they shouldn't. That normally is what happened, and people are very quick to say a gun just went off. Well, there's been video evidence out there, and there's been so much stuff that it can actually start leaning me towards, there actually is a problem with this gun. And do I still think it's a fantastic shooting gun? I absolutely do. I like the way it feels and everything. Would I carry it on my person? I would not. At this point, I don't trust this gun. Now, I've never had a problem with them. I have several of them, and I've got this one here as an example. I've used this one a couple times here recently as an example because it's the most common one. This is the regular P320, no bells or whistles, and 9mm, and everybody loves the 9mm, so that's the one I'm going to use. The problem with the Sig Sauer P320 is there's just too many incidents and too much video proof and documentation and studies that's been done on this to actually say there actually is a problem with it. Now, I've never had one bit of problems with any of them. Never had one accidentally go off or anything like that, but I would not carry it. And here's the reason why, folks. When you have something that, like, let's use an example, and I've used this many times, car brakes. If you were going to go buy a car and you were going to get a really good deal on it, and the guy that was going to sell you the car told you that the brakes work really good most of the time, 98% of the time it's going to work good, would you buy that car? I personally would not, and I don't think anybody here would, because you're always going to have it in the back of your mind. Is this going to be one of the 2% of the times that the brakes don't work when I go to come up to a stoplight, or I have to slam on them because something ran out in front of me, or, whatever you're thinking. I want my brakes on my car to work 100% of the time, and have even 99.9% of the time is not good enough for me. I want them to work 100% of the time, and I cannot say that with this gun. There's been just too many incidences there. Just because I've never had a problem, if you were going to carry this gun in a holster or something like that, I don't want to be that 2% person that takes a bullet because the gun, just decided to malfunction. Now, I don't know much about the inner workings of these things or what the problem is. There's been people that are a lot smarter than me and it says there's mem parts, and this folks, it's the mem parts is not a problem. It's being out of spec, and the design is the problem. Mem is not such a bad thing. It's just part of technology. People are going to have to get over that. But the design flaw is that this thing, there is a possibility that it can go off without the trigger being engaged, and a possibility, it means it's going to happen in my mind, and I just choose not to do it. For many years, I defended this gun, said I've never had a problem. It was just a drop safety issue. Well, that's no longer the case. Now with Sig Sauer, does that mean they're done? A lot of people have really put a lot of hate towards Sig Sauer, and I want people to understand something. I don't work for Sig Sauer. Sig Sauer doesn't pay me. They didn't ask me to do this video. Does this mean they're done? I don't think so. Now, did they take a significant hit with this P320 debacle? Absolutely, they did. There's probably 500,000 to 1 million guns that were issued to the United States Army, military in general, and across all the civilians that's bought them. There's probably 1 million of them out there floating around. So it's just way too large of a platform for them not to address it. It'd be very easy if it was something that wasn't wildly popular to just stop production of it and hope that it goes away. But this thing's made quite a large footprint in the firearms industry where they're going to have to address it. Now, do I think they've done it the right way up till now? I mean, it's probably not the way I would do it. I always like to do things the right way, and if I do something wrong, I'm going to admit that I did wrong. Do I think Sig Sauer went out to intentionally make a poor firearm that will possibly hurt people? I don't, folks. What I think Sig Sauer did is they're trying to be in business, and to be in business, you need to try and produce the best product you can for the least amount of money you can, because everybody's always going to go for the cheaper gun or the cheaper car or the cheaper or whatever it is you're shopping at there. Everybody's always looking for price. And Sig Sauer is just trying to compete in an industry that is saturated. And these plastic polymer guns, there's so many choices out there that you got to have an edge over the competition with something, and they did with that modular design and the really nice trigger and some of the features that this thing has. It was a really good choice for the money. Do I think Sig Sauer is completely done? I don't, and I just want people to think about stuff. I mean, you're always going to do what you want to do, but with Sig Sauer, there's people out there that says, I'll never own anything Sig Sauer again. I'll never do it. Well, folks, you got to look at things like this. This is an older design. This is the 220, and this is a hammer-fired gun. And these things have a reputation of being one of the best firearms ever built in semi-automatic. Now, this one's an all-metal frame, hammer-fired, old-school, old-fashioned gun. And it still works. There's never been any kind of incidents of people talking about how these are bad, and it's made by the same company, you see, Sig Sauer. And people will always like these guns. They're like a staple in the firearm industry, a Sig Sauer hammer-fired gun. So Sig Sauer does have a reputation of building very good stuff, and I really like this gun a lot. Would I trust this gun to carry it? 100%. I would absolutely carry this gun. I mean, it's a little heavy, but I would absolutely carry this gun without any second thoughts on it. Now, with the 320, I can't say that. So, because they had this one here on top, the Sig Sauer hammer-fired ones have not had the issues or the reported incidences that this P320 has. Do I think Sig Sauer is completely done? I don't. They make so many good firearms. They had one bad apple. Now, folks, I understand they got egg on their face, and it was a pretty big apple that they had, pretty big bagged apple, but somebody's going to figure this out. I promise you, somebody will figure it out. What you don't want to do is go out there and sell this firearm to uninformed people that have no idea, that are kind of new to firearms, have no idea there's a problem. Do not try and profit off of your misfortune for buying a bad apple. I have them. I'm not going to get rid of them. I'm going to let them sit, and I'll still shoot them at the range and stuff. I'm not going to carry them or anything, but the same reason that made you buy this firearm should be the same reason you should keep this firearm. Unless it's for an everyday carry, I would probably think twice about doing that until they get it figured out. And they are going to figure it out, folks. It's just got too large a footprint out there. There's just too many of them out there for them not to address it. I do not know how they're going to handle it in any way, but they will address it eventually, and I think it will eventually get resolved. I feel bad for all the victims that have been injured or possibly killed because of a faulty firearm, and I'm gonna say alleged faulty, because the book's still to be written on what the flaw is and if it was 100% the firearm's fault or anything. But one of the things you got to remember, folks, is this thing gets a lot of press because there's a lot of them out there. If there was a lot less of them out there, if this was like a much cheaper firearm or Derringer or something like that, there's not millions and millions of people carrying them around. Like, I have a little North American Arms, little mini revolver. I think that thing's probably one of the most dangerous firearms that I own. I mean, it actually is. The way it operates is dangerous. The reason you don't hear about those things going off all the time is because there's not a lot of them around for people to carry around. People aren't carrying those around and shooting themselves with them by accident because there's not enough of them around. But I promise you there's incidences out there of people getting hurt with stuff like that. They're kind of like the Glock pistols. There's just so many of them, especially after they got adopted by the United States military. There's just so many of them out there. There's going to be incidents. It's not all of them's going to be the pistol's fault. Now, they're starting to lean towards the way that some of them may be the pistol's fault. I mean, we don't know. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a design engineer or anything like that. So I'm going to let those people that are a lot smarter than me figure this out. But they will figure it out, folks. And just don't try and dump these things off on unsuspecting people. I ask that of you. Be an honest person. Live your life the honest way, and good things will come to you. Don't write Sig Sauer off. If you like Sig Sauer in the past, still continue to like them. Just maybe stay away from these. If this is your problem, stay away from just these. You still have things like their hammer fired, great metal frame guns. They still make very awesome rifles. The MCX design, I think that's a great rifle. Sig Sauer makes really good stuff. They make good optics. I like their optics, but just shy away from the one thing that bothers you. And if this is what bothers you, and that doesn't mean the whole company is absolute trash. And that doesn't necessarily mean this firearm is trash. They will figure this out eventually. And you may, if you hold on to it, maybe you'll have a really good gun that you can trust one day again. But until then, I probably wouldn't carry one of these if I was you. I'm not going to carry one, and I would not bash the company Sig Sauer. You got to stand, all the Second Amendment people got to stand behind all these firearm companies. I like pretty much all the firearm companies, and they all make products that we all love and enjoy to shoot and collect and, go out and have fun with. And there's no need to go out there and bash one company because they made a mistake. Now, moving forward, we'll see how they handle this situation. And it is quite a large situation. It is not going to be an easy one to fix. And I am glad that I'm not the guy that has to make the decision and figure this out. As far as 6 hours a company, is it done? I don't think it's done. It's just too big of a company. They make too many good products. They've made too many good products. They've created a great reputation for themselves, and I think they're going to be able to overcome this and continue to be a good company. This will get figured out, I promise you, folks. I've always thought And this may be a little bit of old school stuff. I mean, I always thought when they started making these plastic polymer frame guns that it just did not seem like a good idea. Well, it has been a good idea, and I've had to eat crow a little bit about these plastic guns that are polymer fired. But I always thought that one day there would be some kind of problems with them when they started getting so many of them, and there's a race to see who can make the next best one and stuff like that. And maybe things are rushed and the designs are rushed, and this may, and I say may, be an example of one of those things. You know, maybe things were cheapened up a little bit to try and cut production costs down so the consumer could have a less expensive firearm with still some of the good qualities that their competition has. You know, maybe that's it, or maybe it's just the design flaw altogether. But I always suspected that one day that there would be one of them that would probably not turn out so well, and this may be the one. This may be the one, but don't write Sig Sauer off, folks. That's what it's about. I don't think they're done. Don't carry the P320 until things are figured out, and don't go selling them off to unsuspecting people who do not know anything about it. Sig Sauer is going to be around for many years. They've made good stuff in the past, and they'll continue to make good stuff in the past. Don't let this one quote unquote bad apple in the basket ruin it for you with the company Sig Sauer. Anyway, folks, I've rambled on long enough today. Let me know what you think about this topic, and thank you very much for watching my video today, and you folks have a great day.